here they're talking about, we have two different functions. Please pay attention to the name of the functions. This is function, let me get a pen here. This is function T, okay? Function T, we know that T is standing for time. The time that it takes to mow, the amount of time that it takes to mow is dependent upon the number of acres that we're mowing. That's what this is telling me, okay? So if you have 1 acre to mow, it takes 4 hours, 2 acres to mow, it takes 8 hours, and so forth. This function over here is the C function, okay? And the C function is the cost function. It tells us right here that it's the cost function, the cost to mow. The cost depends on the amount of hours that we mow. So we have two different functions here. So when we see this right here, T is equal to 4. They're asking us to come up here and look at the T function, okay? And they're wanting us to find the time that it takes us to mow 4 acres. So here's the 4 acres, and so the time that it would take to mow that would be 16. Here they're asking us what's the cost if I spend 4 hours mowing. So we come over here to the cost function. I spend 4 hours mowing, so the cost is going to be $110. Okay, we are simply evaluating these functions. Okay, and this thing is completely in my way, so I'm going to move it over here and then come over here and drag my cursor down. Woo, it's too much. Okay, so, oh my word. So, here we had, it's a different problem. So back to this one, we were doing time, good grief. Time for 4 hours, for 4 acres was 16 hours. The cost for 4 hours was 110. This one is asking us to do two things. It's asking us to take the time function right here, and it's asking us to say, okay, we've got 1 acre to mow. How much time will it take? So you go up here and you look at the time function. We've got 1 acre to mow in the time function. 1 acre to mow is going to take 4 hours. So we evaluate that first function and we get the answer to be 4. Okay? So that means that now we've got to finish this problem. We've answered this portion right here. The time function, the amount of time it's going to take to mow 1 acre is 4 hours. Now they want to see how much does it cost if we mow 4 hours. So you go over here to the cost function and you say, well, I'm mowing 4 hours, so I can expect to spend $110. Okay? What is this one down here saying? It's saying we have, we're going to figure out how much time it takes to mow 4 acres. So the amount of time that it takes to mow 4 acres. Time to mow 4 acres is 16. Now they want us to figure out the cost that it takes the time to mow 4 acres. So the cost of 16 hours is going to be $350. Okay. So we're going to go down here and do the same thing. With these two functions right here. The only difference is that we have no story problem to go with it, but they're asking us to do the exact same thing. So to do the exact same thing right here, we are going to say, okay, the value of my f function when x is 3. Here's my f function right here. When x is 3, the value of my f function is 1. Okay. This says the value of my g function when x is 3. Here's my g function. They're asking me to plug in 3 into my g function, and when I do, I get 2 as an answer. Okay. This says find the value of the f function when x is 3. The value of the f function when x is 3 is 1. So now they're asking me to find what's the value of the g function when the x is 1. So here's the g function, x is 1. So the final answer is 4. This is like 2 problems in one. 2 problems in one. Find the value of the g function when x is 3. The value of the g function when x is 3 is 2. Okay, so now they want you to find the value of the f function when x is 2. There's the value of the s function, x is 2, is 2. Now, you can skip this part. If you can do that part in your head, you do not have to write it down. But it helps at the beginning to write it down so that you don't get confused. Okay, so now comes 2 new pieces of notation. It's not anything new. They're telling me right here that f of g, and that's an open circle. Some people call this fog and goth. It's not really fog and goth. And so if you call it fog and goth, then people might know what you're talking about, but it's really just composite functions. And notice that f of g and g of x are not the same thing, just like f of g right here, you start with the g function, and then you're going to take the answer to the g function and plug it into the f function. Here, you're starting with the f function and plugging it into the g function. Okay, so where are we going to start? We have to go back. This is going to be hard because I've got to shuffle back and forth, okay? So we're going to look up here, and they want us to find f of g of 1. F of g of 1. So f of g of 1, okay? So that means we're going to do, I'm going to write that down right here. I'm going to write it down. They're wanting us to find f of g of 1, okay? So go to the g function. Here's the g function. Get the 1, plug the 1 in, get 4. So now they want us to find f of 4. So f of 4 is equal to 4. Okay, so that means that over there on that table, I have 1 in the x value, 4 is going to go in the y value. So right here, we're going to type, I'm going to write, let me get a pen, I'm going to write 4. Okay, I need to scroll back up. Now they want, having to click back and forth for pen and marker is a pain. Now they want f of g of 2. Okay, so that means start on the g function, plug in the 2. If you plug in 2, you get 3. Okay, so that's step number 1. Now they want to know what the f function is evaluated at 3. So over there on the table, when we scroll back over there on our table, out beside the 2, we're going to put a 1 because that was the answer that we got. Okay, so we want f of g of 3, f of g of 3, f of g of 3. So we want f of g of 3. I'm going to skip that second step. F of g of 3. Whoops. Okay. So